Hello, welcome to Toastmasters in the Community. I'm your host, Fran Okeson. With me today is Linda Isaacs, a member of our No Limits Club. How are you today, Linda? You were here earlier this morning when we had our first show. Did you enjoy that first show?
I really did. It was good to hear the various district leaders tell us what's in store for us this year.
Yes, because our people on Staten Island usually don't go to New Jersey, and that's where our district is all laid out. But anyway, we have them here on the first show every August, and we'll continue to do that, and it was great. We have a great district director this year, don't we, Manny Reyes?
Definitely.
Yeah, nice to look at. Anyway, okay. So are you, Kevin. So are you, Kevin. Kevin, are you there?
No.
Well, Kevin, you're filling in for Paul, who can't make it today, but you didn't give me information, so I'm going to let you, when you go up, introduce yourself with what speech you're doing, if you don't mind, all right?
Excellent.
Thank you. His voice changed. All right. This is the day that we decided. I just wanted to tell the home audience why we're doing a wedding show. When I need information, I go to the source. I go to California, and I have many people there who gave me hindsight on things I was interested in doing or not doing for Toastmasters. They recently moved to Colorado. So I was talking to this one young lady from Toastmasters. Her name is Miyahya, and I got very friendly with her. And I said, are you going on to Colorado when the group moves? And she said, no. She said, I'm getting married this summer. I said, oh, really? When? She said, July 28th. I said, oh, that's my birthday. She said, your birthday? We got to talking about my birthday and her wedding day. So I sent her a little token, little glass heart. And I said, if you have nothing planned, you know, maybe you'd like to wear this, because I have plenty of things. I'm into cameos big time. I love cameos. So I called my friends in the club and I said, would you like to give a talk about how you planned your wedding? This show was supposed to be done on July 7th, but unfortunately we had to cancel that show. So we're doing the wedding show now. I hope the audience will think it's fun. I will be sending her the DVDs. And we're just putting our memories together of how we planned or how we got involved with the man that we ended up marrying. And so we're going to start the show. As usual, I open it so that I can then keep track of the rest of the show. So I will talk about my marriage. Last June would have been my 58th anniversary. My husband decided to leave for the next beyond 26 years ago. So I have memories that will never fail. I'm doing the Humorously Speaking Advanced Manual, Warm Up Your Audience. And I have 6 minutes, Joan. All the brides, we all have 6 minutes. And let's see, Jane Castilla. Oh, I cannot. I will practice that name between now and the next time I see Jane Wednesday. Castilla. She said it's a Y. Jane, I promise. Jane is a lovely, lovely new member of Richmond County Toastmasters who's up to her. She'll be doing her 8th speech at the next Wednesday's meeting. But Jane, I will practice that word if it kills me. All right. And then my title is, Do You Take This Man? So I have a couple of little notes to keep me on track, but I'll just tell you very briefly. In 1997, I moved to Staten Island, and I moved into the Wadsworth Hall Hotel. Now, the Wadsworth Hall Hotel was a beautiful old stately mansion that was just outside of Fort Wadsworth, and I had a little room there, and I was going to begin my life. I met a man in the hotel who knocked on my door one day, and he said, you don't know me, but I'm a retired banker, and they're building a bowling alley on Highland Boulevard. I used to love to bowl. Would you like to come and we'll be partners? And I said, I don't know anything about bowling. He said, well, why don't we come, and they're just starting it up. So I went. And there was a family there, the Okeson family, 3 brothers and 2 wives. My husband had lost his wife a year or so before. Well, I wasn't the best bowler. My sport was always fencing in college and basketball in high school. So bowling, that ball was heavy. But I met the Okeson family. Emil took a liking to me and decided he was going to teach me how to bowl. Well, what happened was he fell in love. And that's where my story began, in a bowling alley. I don't know where everybody else, I'll hear this talks later. But at the Wadsworth Hall Hotel, my husband, it seemed, worked for the S.S. White Dental Manufacturing Company at the foot of one of the streets down there in Princess Bay. And we decided that we would get married. Well, I called my parish priest back in Flushing, And I told him that I met the man of my dreams and I would like him to officiate at the wedding. And he said, well, tell me about him. And I said, well, he's an older man. He's 16 years older than I. He lost his wife a year or so ago, and we met in the bowling alley, which doesn't really sound... The bowling alley? There were other places we could have met, but he wasn't a drinker, and neither was I. So he said, I want you to bring him to me. So Emil and I went out to Flushing. The church rectory was 2 blocks away from my home. And Emil sat down, and I could see Father Denon just giving him the eye. And then he asked him to step outside, and he did, and he said, why are you marrying such an old man? And I said, because he asked me, and I like him, I like his family, and he's a good man. He said, he's a foreigner. I said, why? He said, Emil? I said, well, he's named after his uncle, I think he called him Ummel at that time. So I said, well, look, if you don't want to do the honors, then we'll go somewhere else. No, he said, if he's the one you picked. Well, the wedding went on. My girlfriend Margie from Long Island surprised me with a bridal shower at the hotel. And one of my classmates at Hunter said, you're marrying an old man like that? I said, he asked and I accepted. Yeah, but he's got a funny name. I figured, well, you don't have to use it. So Emil and I got married. Then I figured, oh, I have to get a wedding gown. Wedding gown. Somebody said, go to Garber Brothers. They have lovely gowns. I went, sure, for a couple of $1,000s. I said, look, I don't have that kind of money. I was working at Beth Steel as an IBM key punch operator. I didn't get paid that much in those days. I got married in 1960. So the woman said, look, we have several gowns where a bride canceled the wedding. And why don't you come and look at them? I went, and I will ask my son to, or Isaac, to please put up my wedding picture. And since my wedding album is up in the attic and it's too hot for Peter to go up and get it, I asked him to get, yeah, that was an $80 wedding gown. I loved it, 3/4 length, and that's my husband. As I said, we have a whole album of wedding pictures because all of his brothers and their wives came to Flushing to see me get married, and my friends from school. But I said to Peter, the album's been up in the attic all these years, leave it alone, but get the picture of Daddy with Nancy at her graduation from high school, but cut Nancy out of it. Right. So that picture is me in 1960 and my husband in 1984. But there we are. I said, I don't want to be the only bride who doesn't have her husband in the picture. But that's my husband, Emil Okeson. And Peter said the next animal we get, he wants to name it Ummel, because Uncle Emil's name was Ummel Gruber. And there are days that Peter does not take after my English and Irish with sense of humor. He's got more of that German, that Uncle Ummel. But I've had a very happy, almost 58 years, and no, I had 31.5 years with him, but I still celebrate my anniversary because I'm not looking anywhere else. Nobody's looking in my direction either. So I just want to say that my years were happy, and God willing, I'll have a few more because I have a beautiful son who takes the best care of me that I could expect from a son. And that is my speech. This is Paul's picture, which we decided to put in today. It doesn't even look like Paul. The thing about these wedding pictures for the home audience is that these are pictures that were taken many years ago. And when my other teammates here sent me pictures, I looked at the picture and said, who's that? Now, we're showing Paul Scharf's picture at the end of the brides because Paul was supposed to be here today and he wasn't able to come. He let me know last night. So, but when I got Paul's picture, I said, who is that? Then I read the email. It's for Paul Scharf. Doesn't look like Paul. It looks nothing like Sandy, but you'll make the judgments for you. Only one bride looks like herself, and she'll probably explain why. So the second speaker is Sue Brooks. And again, I have known Sue for I don't know how many years, but you've been on my crew for many years. You're part of my group. And Sue, let me give what you're doing. You're in Pathways. Are you in Pathways yet?
I've started it, yes.
You did. It seems that 3 or 4 people here today are doing it. All right, it's the Presentation Mastery Path, Level 1, Project, Evaluation and Feedback. You have 6 minutes. Rachel Weiss is your evaluator, and I like your title, One of a Kind. Let's all hear about your wedding. Sue Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, studio audience, and audience at home. One of a kind. I've been married for 32 years and love my marriage. Yes, there are ups and downs. And sure, my husband is one of a kind, just like everybody else, even identical twins. However, I'm not going to tell you about my marriage or my husband. Instead, I'm going to share with you the story of the dress. Every bride has to focus at some point on selecting the dress she's going to wear. I knew that I had sewn garments for many years. As soon as I became proficient in sewing, both handwork and using a machine, I knew once I got married, I wanted to create my own wedding dress. You're probably thinking, wow. And yes, it was a wow. At the time, I lived in a studio apartment in New York. I had a job in Midtown Manhattan, near the Garment District and near the Flower District. I knew the date of my wedding, and I knew a little bit about project management. You know the date that the garment has to be ready, and you know today's date. So here it is, you have a window of time. Backdate when you need everything done by, and plan out the different steps. All right, you remember I mentioned a studio apartment in New York. I also had a cat. Yes, Ken, you have a cat. Ken Brooks, Ken Raftery, you all know you have cats. Many of you others have cats. Cats love tissue paper. In order to create the garment, you need a tissue paper pattern. You need yards and yards and yards of fabric. I was able to use the proximity to the Garment District and the Flower District in New York to use my lunch hour to go out and search the pattern and search the beautiful trim and the beautiful fabric I'd make for the veil and the flowers I would encircle my head with on the veil and the fabric I would use to create the little bag that I carried the day of my wedding. Back to the tissue paper. A studio apartment, for those of you who do not know, is one room. Oh yes, there's a bathroom and the door closes. So what do you do with the cat when you're trying to lay out the yards and yards and yards of fabric and the lengthy pieces of tissue paper that will form the pieces of your garment? I didn't know what to do. The cat, named Felix, was really excited about these tissue paper pieces. He saw me laying out these nicely pressed pieces of paper and these nicely pressed pieces of fabric, and he thought, boom, that's an invitation to go run into the pieces of tissue paper. What was I going to do? I knew. I'll put him in the bathroom, close the door, and believe me, it's not evil or rude or cruel, because you know what? He just jumped into that nice, cool ceramic sink, made himself at home, and he was happy. I was happy because I got to create my garment in a relative peace for a few minutes. So each time I knew I had to plan out a segment of time to work on the dress, I placed him in the bathroom. He was fine. So I overcame that obstacle that way. My dream was to have this nice garment with hand-applied lace trim at the bottom. And okay, that was good. Made the garment. First I made a dummy out of muslin to get all the fitting right. Made the garment. That was all right. The day before my wedding, I moved from New York to New Jersey. I still hadn't finished hand sewing all that trim. What was I going to do? It was like, you have to make it kind of a late night, the day before the wedding, finish it up. So the woman who's the maid of honor, I had slept over at her house with the two other bridesmaids. She said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about this hand sewing business. Just let me put it through the machine. I'm like, okay, fine. It's like nobody is going to look way down at the bottom and see that a few pieces of the trim were machine stitched rather than hand stitched. It wasn't a problem. However, I did learn a few important lessons about planning a little bit better and backdating just a little bit more to allow more time to hand sew the garment. So with every challenge of creating this beautiful dress, there were little things that you learn in the process. So I kept those lessons within me and used that strategy in project management during other things in my life. And you try as best as you can to make sure everything happens on time so it's beautiful. Ken and I are still married, still wearing the same wedding ring that we exchanged rings the day of the wedding. It was a beautiful day. It did not rain. And here we are. That's the dress, the headpiece, and I still have the wedding gown neatly tucked in the box from the cleaners. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. And you have a son?
Yes, we have one son. We have one son. He's 28 years old.
I was just going to say, if you had a daughter, she'd have a ready-made
Well, there you go.
dress. Yeah,
Thank you.
It may be used again. Beautiful, beautiful. I didn't know you sewed.
Now you do.
Now I do. I learn things every time I come out of my door. All right, Joan. All right, now I knew your husband, Joe. So let's hear what you're going to say about him. All right, Joan, you're doing speech number 1 from the Speaking to Inform Advanced Manual, the Speech to Inform, 6 minutes for you. And Paul Paradise is doing your evaluation, and your title that you gave me is What a Guy. Let's all welcome Joan Maurizio.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Yeah, what a guy. Who would ever know that you'd meet a guy in such a way? But I met this person through his sister, because we worked together. He was coming home from the service, and he had nobody to see while he was home, and they wanted to have him comfortable and enjoy his stay at home. So I got asked at work, would you like to go out with my brother on a blind date? And I said, of course. Why not? Well, Joe came home from the Air Force, and we met each other. And I thought I was very impressed the very first day. And what scared me was the very first day he met me, he said he was going to marry me. And I got scared just a bit. But you know what? Back in my day, in the 60s, late 60s, that's what women did. They got married in 19, 20, 21. Maybe a little past that if they were going to college. But I wasn't going to college. I was working at Bankers Trust already, part-time while I was in high school. So I said, all right, I can do that. And then the long time together, that going steady engagement period started. And it was funny because his whole family had different plans for me. They wanted us to wait 6 years to get married. And we said, no, that's a little too much. We'll both be old people by then. Because back then, when you were in your teens, you thought old people were 30 years old. Anyway, that's besides the point. That is besides the point. So here we are, making our plans to get married. And the priest said to us, we're going to post the banns. And if your future mother-in-law, Joan, has anything to say about this, because it was my church I got married at, Church of the Holy Ghost. Anything to say? She's got 3 weeks to say it. Our phone number's in the front of the bulletin. She could just call us up and give us all the reasons why you two should not get married and wait for 6 years. And that never happened. So we got married. But what a guy. This guy went through a lot. You have to remember first, he was in the service. And the service does not let you do anything without their permission, because when you sign on that line that you're becoming military, you belong to them. So he got permission from his commanding officer, and that was fine. Back in my day, in the late 60s, we had to go for a blood test to make sure nobody had any STDs, VDs, or anything like that. But anyway, that worked out fine too. Before the church would get you married, you had to go to the city authorities and get their permission. And we filled out a very, very long application. Now, here's this guy in the service, and mind you, that every step we took, he had to take time off from work. So he was getting all his days in advance, over and beyond. We got married July 28th, yep, over and beyond June, July, right into Christmas. He was not going to get any more time off to be with anyone. All right, so he was very, very, I would say, peaceful and nice about the whole thing and very considerate. And got all his paperwork in order. He even showed me where his supervisor had to sign off. And it was a one-day thing. We were not going to have this big thing after all. Maybe we should have waited the 6 years. But anyway, everything was all taken care of. I had very, very good friends and family at the time. It was my family that chipped in. His family was against this marriage because they wanted us to wait at least 6 years. Joe has to finish college before he goes off and gets married. Well, that wasn't going to happen in his books. He found the girl he loved, and he just couldn't wait, because in those days we waited. Silent joke. Get married. I got something new, something borrowed, everything was borrowed. I didn't have to buy the gown. I borrowed it from a friend. We were about the same size. She was a little shorter than I was. You know what? The guy that took the photographs threw the gown over Joe's shoes, and he stepped up on a telephone book so that he could be a little taller than me, because we were both 5'6", 5'6.5". So that didn't look too good in the pictures, except when we got to the corrections. And then the gown was a little short, but so was my gown stretching over, so it didn't matter. And the photographer did take beautiful pictures. What I have to say about this whole thing is, what really went bad was when we were driving home to Virginia. That was my new home on Langley Air Force Base. And the tire blew. And the cop came chasing us, and the last thing the police officer said to my husband, "And you have a hubcap, you better get that, you left back there." So I didn't think that was too nice either, but I think it had to do with Virginia plates versus New York state plates. And this is the way it was, and you know what? After that, everything was fine, and I loved it, and I wish I had another 32 years, but he died 18 years ago, so thank you.
And now we have Kevin, who is filling in for Paul Scharf. And Kevin, what will you be speaking, manual and whatever?
So my speech title is, "So You Think You Want to Get Married?"
What speech number?
Speaking with sincerity, how about that?
CC, what number?
Is that 2? Speaking with sincerity?
You're still on the old book. That was the old book. I keep telling you. Speech number 2 is to organize your speech.
Some things that are old are better that way.
I will send you the CC manual, so that sincerity. Anybody else older than I am in this room? I can't remember. Do it as a number 2, organize your speech. Do you have an opening, body, and conclusion?
Oh, I got an opening all right, and you can see I got a body.
You're doing speech number 2 from the basic manual. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, that's organize your speech, and you have the 6 minutes. And your speech is, so you think you
Want to get married?
Want to get married. You're so much fun to deal with, Kevin. It's a delight to see you once a month. Anyway, let's all welcome Kevin Thompson. And Kevin, Kevin, you said you didn't think you could find your picture, but watch the screen. Okay?
Oh no, we've made arrangements.
I already made them because Peter knew that you brought your wedding picture in about
Listen, you're gunning into my time now. Fellow Toastmasters, Fran.
Yes.
And our studio audience, of course. So you think you want to get married? Really? I'm here to just walk you through those things that you need to consider that you probably have not even thought about. So sure, you have a nice young man, you have a nice young lady, you think that, oh, this is it, this is the time, this is the one. But there are other things to consider that you haven't even thought about. Oh yeah, I know, you're looking forward to the honeymoon and sharing your lives together, but that's just the beginning. You have a family that was established before you ever met this other person. And I'm here to tell you a secret. They have a family too. That was set up before they ever met you. And you are now going to enter a process where you put those two families together. You need to think about what you're going to do, because doing that is not easy. So let me just walk you through the process. So the first thing that my intended wife and I were going to do was decide on where we're going to have the wedding. Of course, you can't have a wedding without having a church and a reception, because the wedding is nothing but a big party that you are going to pay for. Now, who's supposed to pay for it? Should it be the intended wife, or should it be the intended husband, or should you split it up? That's argument number one. Then, where are you going to have it? Well, my wife's mother was in Connecticut. My mother and father were here in New York and New Jersey, and her father was in South Carolina. Where are we going to have this wedding? Those are things you have to consider. Those are things you have to think about. So we went around, we went up to Connecticut, we looked at a couple of different halls, beautiful place overlooking the water, but the food wasn't right. If you know anything about me, the food has to be perfect. I'm not too particular about what the place looks like, but the food has to be good. If it's not good, I'm not going to be excited about it. And if I'm not excited about it, I am not doing it. And that's the other thing that you have to understand. You are going to have to adjust to this other person who you think you love, this other person's needs, wants, and desires. It's no longer about you. It's all about them, and it's about you giving in to them. Yes, I said giving in, and I'm not talking about just the man. The woman has to give in too. Now, I'm going to share a secret with you that I did not know until I became an older gentleman, and I wish I had known this before. So you young men out there, I'm going to give you a nugget that you need to know. Ready? Here it goes. The woman chooses the man. I did not know that. I did not believe it. And then when I found out, and it's true, trust me, it's true, you think you're doing something. No. You are like a fish on the hook, swimming to the boat. The woman chooses the man. All right, so that's just a side comment. We went up to Connecticut, didn't decide on the place. And we were living here in Flushing, went to Brooklyn, went to Queens, couldn't decide on a place. And time is ticking. Oh, how many people are coming to the wedding? You got to think about that too. We said, oh, we'll have about 200, which was a good-sized wedding. And I started down the list. And my list was 200. I guess you don't get anybody to bring, because I got to bring another argument. So again, going back to my original thing, you sure you want to get married? Because all of these things are part of that process of getting married. So I had to pare down my list, she had to do her list, and then we said, oh, we got the perfect solution to this problem. We'll invite these people. I mean, people from Detroit and Florida and what have you, because we got family all over. They're not going to come. Ding, 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 ding. Spoiler alert. Everybody who we said was not coming decided they were coming and responded back. Oh, no, we'll be there. That's exciting. That's great. You have to decide on the honeymoon. We decided that we were going to take a cruise. So to minimize efforts, to maximize opportunity, we decided to get on the cruise, have our wedding on the cruise, and our reception on the cruise. So here's a picture of me and my wife on the cruise. And what we did, everybody came on the boat. We had the wedding, had the reception, everybody got off the boat, and we went on our honeymoon. My recommendation to you, do like I did. Do the cruise. Miss Toastmaster.
She's a tiny little pint of peanuts there, Kevin. Jeez. Tiny, tiny. But he looks like himself. Mm-hmm. You know, where the other, Paul Sharp, you're not going to recognize him. Hi, Lucy.
Hello.
Yeah, okay, Lucy. And Richard looks nothing like the Richard that's over there handling that camera. I looked at you. They'll see you in your picture, but Richard, I kept looking. It's just, I thought maybe it was somebody else just standing in for Richard. Anyway, it was fun getting the pictures. All right, Lucy, you're doing from the Storytelling Advanced Manual. Let's get personal. 6 minutes. Ken Raftery is your evaluator, and your title is My Wedding in Las Vegas. Let's all hear about Lucy's wedding in Las Vegas.
Good afternoon, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, viewing audience, and guests. How many of you have been to Las Vegas? When I was going out with my future husband, I met him in the Air Force Reserve. So we're working together, and it took me a long time before he said, how about it? I said, what do you mean, how about it? I said, I want to get married. I said, give me time. So I said, you know, we have to plan our wedding. And it takes time to plan and where to go, how to get things. I have so many families, and I want to invite them. I have to pay for the reception, the wedding, whatever. I have to buy for my gown. And I said, I don't think I will get married. So he kept on saying, how about it? How about it? I want to get married. Finally, my cousin called me and he said, when you get married? I said, I don't know. He said, I'll help you. I'll be your planner. I said, well, go to Las Vegas. I said, what? You can go to Las Vegas. It's cheap. You can go there and get married there. And I said, okay, that'll be a good idea. So finally, we got our date to get married, but I wound up working that day, and I told all my co-workers that I'm going to get married. I said, that's nice. Oh, are you bringing somebody? I said, no, that's the two of us. Don't tell my family. Don't tell my friends. I'm just telling you. So my co-worker said, very good. So I came home, and my cousin called me, and I said, where are you? I said, I'm home. He said, you missed a flight. I said, what flight? You're supposed to be here in Las Vegas. And I said, oh, my God, I missed my flight. And then so I said, you see, I don't think it's good to go to Las Vegas to get married. He said, oh, don't worry, we'll get the next flight you go. So I finally got the next flight, and we went there with my future husband, who is very unhappy, and he said, I don't think we get married now because we've missed the flight. I said, don't worry, we'll go into Las Vegas. So finally went to Las Vegas, and I was in the baggage claim, and my cousin said, where are you? I said, I'm in the baggage claim. He said, I'm supposed to pick you up. I said, I know. So we kept on calling with each other, and finally we heard each other, like we're nearby. I said, I think we're near each other. We're back to back. So I said, oh my God, here you are. So we went, and he said, I have bad news. I said, what's the bad news? We have no room. I said, what do you mean we have no room? We just have a reservation. Well, you missed a flight. They canceled the reservation of your room because it was the Super Bowl weekend.
Oh, my God.
I said, Super Bowl weekend? Yeah, they're here. You probably invite them for your wedding. I said, no. I said, we have to find a room. So finally, he found a room. We went there, and I said, I don't believe this. He said, don't worry, it will be fine. So the next day, we went to the city hall to get our marriage license. And then after that, we went to find a place to get married. He said, you like Elvis to marry you? No, I don't want Elvis to marry me. So then we went to our little flower chapel, and there was a long line. I said, what's this? Oh, everybody's getting married. I said, what? So then I said, what happened to me? So, oh, you have to wait. So the receptionist came and she gave me a menu. And here, pick what you want. I said, pick what I want. I just, item number 1, item number 2. If you go to all the way to item number 53, it costs you so much money. I said, why? She said, it's like a Chinese restaurant. When you go to a Chinese restaurant, they got all the menu, what you want. And I said, I don't like this. So she said, well, why don't you just go, oh, how about, when are you going to get married? I said, now. So she said, well, do you want a priest? You want a minister? You want a rabbi? We have everything. If you want Elvis, we can call Elvis, and Elvis will come and marry you. I said, no. So we finally got a minister to marry us. And then she said, do you want a videotape? I said, okay. So we have a videotape, but my cousin was also videoing us. So when we look at the video, they saw his head instead of us on the thing. I said, I paid for the videotape, and here it is. I only see my cousin's head. So finally, we have all our marriage. We enjoy our wedding day that day. My cousin gave us a nice reception, just the 3 of us. So And he said, remember, what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. I said, sure, I wish. So we came home, and all my friends said, oh, where were you? I said, we were married. What, you're married? My family came. I said, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to tell us. So I said, well, I have to tell you everything what happened in Las Vegas. So say, you mean to say what happened in Las Vegas stayed in New Jersey? I said, yeah. So we finally got a nice reception. So if you want to go to Las Vegas, don't tell anybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Talk about a comedy of errors, right? Comedy of
Yeah,
errors.
definitely.
Oh, good Lord. All right, now we'll have the evaluations, and then we'll go into table topics. And Jane, oh, yes, you have the pleasure of evaluating my silly story. Jane, pronounce your last name.
Costaiola.
No, yeah, I told you. Pronounce it as, you told me. It's a Y in the middle, and I just, Y. Great big Y. Okay. Thank you, Jane.
Well, Fran's speech about weddings I found very interesting and very fun because as she told her story, we learned about her when she was younger. I've just met Fran, and I only know a little bit about her recent past. So I found the story very interesting, and it was, you know, very related to the topic. The story was very appropriate for the audience because we're here to discuss weddings. The story was, yes, it was very amusing because there was people were not all happy about the wedding or about the meeting, and the bowling was interesting because you weren't a bowler, you had other sports, but you were game to go bowling, so it was very amusing. And the story definitely kept my attention, and the speaker's delivery of the story, as with all of Fran's speeches, was very good. She definitely keeps your attention. I felt that if she would have elaborated on the wedding, I would have liked to hear a little tidbits about the wedding. That would have made it a little bit more interesting to me. But the speech was well organized and definitely clear and logical. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jane. Thank you. And Rachel, you're going to tell Sue what you thought about her wedding. That was a beautiful gown she made.
Yes. Well, we're doing the pathways evaluation of the first speech. So this is a little bit different than what we normally have. There are 3 points that I need to review with regard to Sue's speech. Number 1, what she excelled in. She excelled in the organization and the transitions between all of the different phases of her speech. She had it very well laid out, very well planned, very well organized. What she may need to work on to make it a better speech, I think she needed props. Some of us have not a clue what tissue paper is, or how that tissue paper is even used to make a pattern to make a dress, because most of us just go to the store and buy something. And having the ability to be able to see the fabric, to see the tissue paper, to maybe see what the tissue paper is used to make a template would be helping as a prop. And the third point is to challenge yourself. I think the challenge is, how do you use a prop on camera? How do you work with that prop so that the home audience really understands what you're talking about? Thank you, and I look forward to hearing this speech given again, taking this insight and bringing it up the next level.
Wow. Thank you very much, Rachel. And now, Paul Paradise will evaluate Joan's speech. Paul?
Hi, Joan gave a speech, what a guy, and it was very interesting from a historical perspective. He gave her speech chronologically, and it harked back to a time when if you were a guy, when you graduated, you were drafted and you went into the Army. And she met her husband, her future husband, on a blind date, and he proposed to her on her first date, and their romance blossomed. And it was very interesting that when they wanted to get married, their parents wanted them to wait 6 years. So this was going to be a very long courtship. And it was very interesting as well when she was discussing all of the hardships, I shouldn't say hardships, but all of the obstacles that they had to get married. Because her husband was in the military, he had to wait to get certain passes and all the blood tests and things that they had to do before they got married. And even on the day that they got married, all the different intricacies that they had, because they were both the same size, and getting the wedding gown. And I think he had to stand on a phone book so that he would be a little bit taller than her. So there was some humor put into it. I wish he could have just given a little more historical perspective, because today marriages are so much different. Women today don't want to get married, or they have children out of wedlock. But all in all, I thought it was a very delightful story. Thank you, Joan.
Thank you very much, Paul. Very nice. Thank you. Now, is that Margarita, you coming up to evaluate Kevin's speech? Yeah, when I saw the picture, I said to Peter, oh, look, there's a ship in the background. I guess he went on a cruise. So I'm glad that he saw that.
Evaluation is how we measure the skill of the speaker and how he or she can take that speech up a notch. So folks at home, if you think you want to get married, remember Ken Thompson's speech. I should say Kevin Thompson's speech. He gave us hints about the family, about the emotions that are involved in planning a wedding. And he did the ultimate, all-inclusive wedding by planning it on a cruise. So what did Kevin do right? Well, first, he's very personable. He's an experienced speaker, and he outlined 3 points. He is a pro. So how can we take the speech up a notch? Well, he could have brought in the millennial audience by telling them we didn't have social media at that time, and I wish we could have had it, because it would have made things a whole lot easier. We could have had a Facebook page where everybody can come together and talk about the wedding and make plans. But overall, it was an excellent speech. As usual, he is an accomplished speaker. We can always learn a lot from him. And remember, if you want to get married, remember Kevin Thompson's speech. Margarita.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Margarita. And Ken, now you're going to tell us all about Las Vegas. Did you ever go to Las Vegas?
Well, first of all, thank you, fellow Toastmasters and guests. And I was going to mention in my opening, yes.
That's why I gave you that speech to do, because I thought you said something about
Okay, yes, I've been to Vegas twice in my life. But the first time I went was not for a wedding, but for a bachelor party for a high school friend of mine. So,
same story.
and like they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So, yeah, with that, I really enjoyed Lucy's speech today. In fact, it almost reminded me of National Lampoon's Vacation, which, you know, Chevy Chase and his family go through one disaster after another. So it seemed like Lucy had a similar experience. But I liked all the unexpected elements, the canceled flight, canceled hotel, the Super Bowl was taking place at the same time. I liked how she opened with the question she asked all of us, have we ever been to Vegas? And the comedy was just built very well. I think this would be a good entry for the humorous speech contest. And we talk about description and dialogue. Well, you used a lot of dialogue in terms of quotes, like you were saying, this person said this, and then you responded by saying that. And it was really good that you used the quote, what happens in Vegas, because as you said it, the audience kind of started to chant it along with you, which was good. And it says, were you able to picture the characters and actions? Definitely. The only suggestion for improvement, unless I missed it, I don't think you told us how many years ago this was, out of curiosity. I'd like to know how long you've been married. Is that a secret? Okay, well, we'll hear in the sequel. But
thank you, Kevin. Yeah, Ken, I'm getting mixed up with that. That's all right. It's been a very long, wet day today. Yes. Oh, table topics. Yes.
I didn't realize I had a double.
There's nobody to compare to you, Kevin. Nobody. But I never knew you married such a shrimp. You never bring her to the show.
Well, you're not that tall either.
She's cute, though.
And so are you. Did you see Fran's picture with the flowers? Was she a hottie or what? And that's back in the day.
That doesn't say much for me today, does it?
Oh no, now she's simmering.
She's what?
But simmering.
Oh, I thought
Then
you
you
were
want-
saying senile. Even the
Well, no,
hearing's starting to go
I
now.
wasn't going to tell him the real thing, but now that you mentioned it.
Oh, Kevin, I look forward to once a month to just get refreshed with your humor. All right, can we get serious now? I have the same question for all of you, and that is, what advice would you give to a new bride and groom? Kevin Thompson.
So the one thing that I could tell you that probably everyone else that's going to follow me would say is never go to bed angry. It's not worth it, and the reality of it is things that you think make you angry aren't really that important. And at the end of the day, when you think about it, if this is somebody that you honestly and truly love and care about, then there's nothing that the two of you can't work out. And you're not always right, and the other person isn't always wrong. And so you need to be able to meet somewhere in the middle to be able to make that connection and to keep that connection strong.
Now, Kevin, stay there just for a minute because you reminded me of something that will blend right in with what you said. Okay? I wasn't going to tell this story, but I will because you've opened the door. Early in my marriage, my husband never really got angry. He was a very placid man. And this one night, I don't know, we had a little argument. We were in bed. He said something. I got up. I went into the kitchen. I figured, he's probably sleeping already. So I filled a pot with water. I went in and I threw it on him. And then I ran into the bathroom and closed the door. What happened was he didn't come after me. So I went to look into the bedroom, and there he had moved over to my side of the bed. I got the pot, filled it with water. I went in and I splashed him again. Then I ran and I locked the bathroom door because now I figured he was angry, but we were newlyweds and I didn't know that he wasn't that violent type of a person. So I finally went and I slept in on the couch for the night. Next morning I got up, I looked in the bedroom, bed was empty. I looked all around the house, couldn't find him. I looked out the kitchen window, there he was asleep in the hammock in the backyard. So I learned you get nowhere with some men. I didn't make a point, he just found another place where he was comfortable. But you opened that door for that story. We did love each other very much. But I learned you can't rankle feathers if they don't want to be
All I
rankled.
can say, Fran, is thank you for sharing.
Well, I try to be a good girl, Kevin, but, he was just fresh bait. And I just did... Next speaker, Isaac Obinovich. What advice would you give to a young bride and groom?
When I met my wife-to-be, we had an agreement that we talk to each other. We never leave a problem open or unresolved. But when we resolve a problem, we don't get back to it. It's done, it's stamped, it's never reopened. I gave the same advice to my daughter when she was getting married. I said, talk to him. She came to me once and said, I hate it. He's not communicating. I said, honey, did you talk to your boyfriend? No, I didn't. Don't wait for him to talk to you. Go and talk to him. Resolve the problem. It may not even be a problem. It may be a simple misunderstanding. Talk to each other. Solve it. Stamp it and put it aside. Because problems do not they don't go away. They pile up like cancer and then they kill you. So don't leave it there. Don't leave them open. Communicate. Talk to each other. You cannot imagine how much can be resolved by just simply talking to each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. Now, Linda, you're up next, Linda.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't you tell us your advice to a young bride and groom, a new bride and groom?
Okay. When I got married, it'll be 20 years ago in October, and it was actually my second marriage. And one of the things that I decided going into it was that if my husband, Angel, ever said anything to me that hurt my feelings, my assumption would be that I had misunderstood what he meant to say. And that has actually stood me in very, very well over the years, because he is actually one of the nicest people you'd ever want to meet. But every now and then he'll say something carelessly, and it hurts my feelings. My tendency is to want to expand upon that in my mind and think I know exactly what somebody means if they hurt my feelings in some way. But in fact, it's usually just a total misunderstanding. And so having that assumption has worked very, very well for me, and I think part of why we've managed to stay married all of these 20 years.
Very good advice. Very good. Thank you. Now, I did ask our number 3 cameraman, Richard Kahn, since you're here, I'd like to know what your feeling is about that question. What advice would you give to a new bride and groom?
Table Topics Master, audience, and viewers at home. The first one is communicate. Be sure to communicate with each other. When you fail to communicate, mistakes happen. I can't tell you how many times that happens to me. The second one is I'm blank right now. Okay. Compromise. Compromise is very important. It's not a contest. It's not warfare. You have to learn to compromise with each other. Without compromise, it's out-and-out warfare, and that's not good for your marriage. And when things goes wrong, it's easy to blame and use that as ammunition for to attack each other, and that's not for a good marriage. And that's it. Just remember one little thing. Financial disputes are the second leading cause of divorce. Marriage is the leading cause of divorce. And I leave you with that.
Thank you very much, Richard. All right. Now I have Ken Raftery. Why don't you come up and give us your advice for a new bride and groom?
Well, thank you, Fran, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers. Well, to answer that question, I think to my parents, in fact, this past May, my parents celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. So they must be doing something right to have such a lasting marriage. But it's funny because I'm reading a celebrity autobiography now, and just, I guess it was yesterday, the woman wrote she would get into knockdown, drag-out, screaming matches with her husband in front of her children. I was reading that saying, that didn't happen in my house, I could tell you that. So I'm lucky that my parents always got along. I think a part of it may be a sense of humor. Like I had mentioned in my evaluation about National Lampoon's Vacation. My parents, when I was a child, we would sometimes go to Lake George, and the hotel they would book us in was like worse than anything Chevy Chase stayed in. But my mother, by all rights, should have divorced my father on the spot then. But instead, you laugh about it. To this day, we say, how could you have booked a place like that? But I think the best answer, although this adds a major part to a lasting, successful marriage, is to have a handsome, intelligent, well-spoken, well-educated, brilliant child. And I'm not talking about my brother either. Madam Toastmaster.
You're ending on that note? Oh, good Lord. All right, Ken. Oh, I remember when you walked into Richmond County and said, I want to be a Toastmaster. And I don't even remember how long that was, but you are very, very, very outspoken and a very good humorist. All right. Is there anyone in our studio audience who has not come up on this show who would like to answer that question? Because we have 3 minutes and about 3.5 minutes. Don't be shy, but let's not waste time. If you, oh, somebody's coming. Just tell me. I can't see anything back there. It's black. Can you? It's Manny. Oh, Manny. Oh, Manny. Yes, our District 83 director. Yes, Manny. What would you give as advice to a new bride and groom, Manny Reyes?
Best advice I can give is work it out. She's always right. Don't fight it. The best way to dissuade any conflict is to always agree. And if she doesn't agree with you, agree with her. Because at the end of the day, you know she's right. We always mess up. we have our ways, and if you think about it for quite some time, you will figure out that the best thing that you can always do is follow the advice of your wife. They are wise, they are your wife, and they're the mother of your children. So where are you going to go? Stay with them and have fun, because life is all about fun, and I have a lot. Let me tell you, I've been 35 years with the same lady, and we're having fun still today.
There, Manny. Begonia, will you please come up and stay with your husband? Give me your quick answer. We have 2 minutes. Okay. Please cut the red light. Please cut the red light. Come on, this way. Just tell Begonia, come on up. We'll get the two of you as the final two speakers on this wedding show. Begonia Reyes, and I love hearing your accent too. Now, cuddle up. Come on, come on. Let's make this, put your arm around it.
35 years, come on.
Yeah, let's go. Begonia, what's your advice for, how old are your children, by the way? Are they married yet? Or?
Yes, I have a son.
No. We have.
Sorry. We have a son that is now 36 years old and a daughter who is 31 years old.
You got busy early. Are you grandparents?
No.
Well, he says no, and you're thinking about it. Don't you two communicate? What is this thing about communication that we're all...
No. We don't have no kids. Even my son is married for 12 years. They don't have no kids. My daughter is single. Still single.
Oh, well, bring us to Toastmasters. Bring us to Toastmasters.
Oh, yeah, they had been a Toastmasters as a guest.
Very good. Well, what advice would you give them if your unmarried daughter came home and said, "Mom, I just found the man of my dreams. He's just like Daddy." What would you do? Sit down, child. We have to talk. Now, let's hear. What would you advise her?
If she asked me that she find the man of her dreams, I was gonna say to follow her heart. Follow her heart and do what the instincts are telling her, because it's very important to listen to your heart and do what it tells you. For now, she doesn't have no boyfriend. I mean, she has been with a different boyfriend, has had different boyfriends, but right now is not in a relationship.
Okay, thank you very, very much, both of you. Make a beautiful couple up there. Thank you. All right, and we're just about ready to close. Please remember what I said on this morning's meeting, that if anyone has an organization on Staten Island that would like to come on the show, give a short presentation about what your organization does, I'd love to have you come and join us, and maybe some people from the organization would like to come and learn more about Toastmasters. We've had people from other agencies throughout the years. This is our 14th year on the air, and we're just about to be cut off, and there go the credits. Please watch us on Channel 34 Spectrum.